Hi again. In this video, I'm going to show you what you need to know about EViews in order to complete empirical assignment number 4. So we'll start off talking a little bit about where you can get the data. I've got that in 3 different places. And then I'll get out of the way of the camera, turn the lights down, turn the overhead on, then you can see what I'm doing on my computer and follow along as I do an example problem that's exactly like the one in the homework. And I'll show you just exactly what steps you need to take within EViews in order to complete that homework successfully. So let's get started. Let me get out of the way here. So here we go. When you bring up empirical assignment 4, it'll look something like this. It should look exactly like this, as a matter of fact. And if you notice up here, I said it's going to get out of the way, but I'll do some pointing. Up here in this second paragraph, the middle line, there's a place that says download table icon. So one way to get the data is just to click on this, and as it says, it'll copy it into Excel. Then you can just go to an Excel program. Here it is. And let me get a new file here. It'll look like this, and then you can just Control V, Command V if you're in a Mac, and the data will be there. Then you can save it under whatever name you like. And so that's the first way you can get the data. And so just bring it in Excel, then you just say, File, Save As. And then you could put it into, mine's in Economics 320. I could call it Empirical Quiz 4 is what I called it. I can save the data. And there it is. Oops, I already have this open in another place, but there the data are right here, and they're under a name called Empirical Quiz 4. So just go in, say File, Save As. Pick whatever name you want, it doesn't matter. I've called it Empirical Quiz 4, as you can see there. And save the data. And you're all set. And so now we have the data set. The other way you can get the data, it has a slightly different name, is to go to the home page for the class, the one where all the videos are. And I've put a new entry at the very top there, a new post, that says download the data for Empirical Quiz 4. So all you'd have to do is click on that. A window will come up. You can say Save File, and it will go to wherever you save files. Now this one's called Empirical-Quiz-4. Has a little bit different name, but of course you can rename that, give it whatever name you want, or just keep it with that name. So that's the second place you can get the data, is on the page where all the videos are that hopefully you've been finding are useful. And the third place is within Blackboard. I also put it into the sidebar over here on the left-hand side. And again, if you click on that, a dialog box will come up and you can save. You can also open it with Excel, but you'll have to choose the program in order to do that. But you could do that as well. Just go ahead and open it directly into Excel. I don't see the program here. It's here somewhere. But anyway, it's probably easiest just to download it and save it and then open it with Excel. And so that's the easiest way to do it. And so I could just open this file. I can say OK, and this one actually opened up into Excel when I saved it. So it opened up automatically. That's good. So then you'll have it and you can just save it if you need to. But sometimes you'll have to save it and then open it. But it'll be called, as it says up here, Empirical Quiz-4. Okay. So now we have the data out there. And the data is saved in an Excel data set somewhere on your computer. And so again, you'll get that either from the sidebar here. You can get it directly from the assignment by clicking where it tells you to click, and it'll copy it to your clipboard. Then you can paste it into Excel, or you can get it from the home page any one of those are going to work to give you the data. Now the next thing to do, and I've got it down here, it'll look a little bit different in Windows, but it's basically the same, is you want to open up your EViews program. And so the next step is just to click on EViews. And it should open up for us here in a moment. There it is. And it's going to start off by telling you it's a student version, and it's going to do that every time it becomes annoying. Just say OK. Now, this is a startup screen. You may have checked this box so it doesn't come every time. One thing you can do is just say create a new EViews work file right there. I'm going to pretend like you've said don't show this on startup. And all you need to do is say File, New Work File. So just, you need to create a new work file either by clicking on the File button or by using that splash screen that comes up when you first start the program. So I'm going to create a work file. And our data in the problem is not dated. It's not time series data, if you remember that distinction. This is cross-sectional data. So you want to click the box that says unstructured. So you click this unstructured box, and the number of observations you'll have is 100. Now, my data set actually has 540. Yours will have 100. So I'm going to type 540 in here, but you need to type 100, okay? So be sure not to type 540. But I need to type 540 because my data set's a lot bigger than the one you're using. So I'm going to go ahead and type 540. But again, yours will be 100, okay? And now this work file comes up. C is a constant. It automatically includes a constant term for you and a space for your residuals, those U-hat terms that they talk about in the chapter and I talk about on the video. Okay, so now we're set to go, except we don't yet have that Excel data loaded into the program. Once the Excel data is loaded, it's going to be fairly easy. And so what you do to get the data in is say File, click on File, and go down here to Import. And choose Import from File. We're going to import the Excel file. It'll recognize the type automatically, so we don't have to tell it it's Excel. So Import from File. Now I'm going to have to go on my computer to the place where I've saved this. It's fairly deep in there. Let's see. Oh, what happened? That's not what I wanted. I wanted classes, UO, 320. So this is where I've saved the data. Now the data for your homework problem, and you probably wish I would use this, but I'm not going to, would be Empirical Quiz 4 or whatever name you happen to give the data set. I called my data set example data. And it's an Excel data set again, so I'm going to open that. And there it is. But this isn't quite right. See how it says example data, earnings, and experience? Let me show you something. Let me go over here to Excel. Pull Excel back up. I'm not sure what I did there. I didn't mean to do that. So here we are in Excel. Let me open up the data set we're going to use here. It's not in 421, it's in 320. And the name of the data set is example data. Open. Open. So here it is. Now notice there's a line here. It takes up two cells. They've merged two cells. And then it's got experience here and earnings here. So there are two lines in the header. And then I have all these data. And you can see there's two header lines. And it ends at 542. So there's 540 observations. Yours ends at 102. The structure of the writing, the stuff at the top, the names of the variables and the names of the data are just like it is here. And so this is exactly what you'll see, except you'll have 100 observations. So let's go back to our program here. And notice that the names of the data variables are in the second line. So let's go back here to Excel and hit Next. This isn't right. I've got example data experience. That's not what I want for the name of my data set. The name of this variable should just be experience. That's because it doesn't know how many header lines there are and what's in them. So let's hit Next. It says, okay, do two header lines And then I have to tell it the header type. And what I'm going to tell it is that the names are in the last line. So you'll need to do this. Now I've got the right thing, experience and earnings. The description is example data. That's just what I want. And there we go. And so we're all set to go. Let's hit next again. It'll bring up a spreadsheet within, this is all within EViews. And you can look at these data and make sure they're what you want. Is this how you want your data set structured? You can thumb through them. It all looks like we read it in right. So we'll say finish. And then there are the data. Now your data will be, earnings in your file will be AHE. Average hourly earnings is what AHE stands for. And you'll have another variable called age. My variables are earnings and experience. Very much the same, except it's not the same exact data set. So again, your data set will be AHE. Maybe I can rename these. Let me do that. For you, this variable will be called AHE. And the second variable will be called age. In mine, it's experience, but let's pretend like that's age as well, just so you can see how to do this. So I'm going to rename this and call it age. Okay? And so your data will look like this. You'll have an AHE variable, an age variable, and a residual variable. I'm going to go ahead and rename these back. So you can I just wanted to show you. So again, in my data set, this is called earnings. I can give them whatever name I want. I just want to stay with what they actually are. And this one was experience, EXPER. Okay, so our data are in there. We're all set to go. So you've read your data in. They'll have different names, but it'll look just the same. The next thing you want to do is we're all set to run the regression. And so we're just going to go up here and say quick estimate equation. And we're all set to go. And what you do here is you write the question you want to estimate. Remember, our model is yi is beta 0, the constant, plus beta 1 times x plus an error. For us, you put the y variable first. So I want to run earnings on experience. I want to see how experience determines earnings. I want to find out the effect of experience on earnings. And so my dependent variable, the left-hand side variable, the y variable, will be earnings. So that's the first thing. So you put the y variable first. Then I want a constant next. Oops, where'd my space go? There it is. I want a constant. And then the next variable I want is experience. So that is y equals, y is earnings, beta naught is the constant term, plus beta 1 times experience, beta 1x. Now the other thing you need to do is go to options and see where it says the coefficient covariance matrix. We want the heteroscedastic robust standard errors. That's what your book recommends using, and it tells you that in most packages you have to pick it explicitly. This one's no different. We want these errors that say white on them. So those are the heteroscedastic standard errors. So write your model down, and then options, choose white, and you're all set to go. Just say OK, and the regression will come up. Here's beta 0 hat is 15.56, 15.555. Beta 1 hat is 0.24. Here's the standard error of the beta naught hat. There's the standard error of the beta 1 hat, the coefficient on experience. Here's the t statistics. The constant looks like it's significant. We won't do these till chapter 5. And this is not significant at the 95% level. You can see that here. It's significant at about the 93% level. But mainly what you're interested in right now are these coefficients. Okay? So now you're all set. That takes care of about half the problem. Except your variables will be, up here it will say AHE, and here it will say age. Here's the r squared. That's something you'll need. Boy, that's a really low r squared. I don't have a significant t. Looks like I don't have a very good model at this point. Now let me show you one other thing. The program also asks you to forecast what will happen if age is a certain value in your model. So that's the same as experience. So I want to ask, what if a person has 25 years of experience? What does the model predict for their earnings? So in your model, in your problem, someone named Bob will have a certain age, and you're going to need to predict Bob's AHE, his average hourly earnings. Here I'm just going to predict earnings for someone who has 25 years of experience, but it's exactly the same. The easiest way to do that is to use this generate function. And I don't need 540 of them, I just need one forecast. I'm going to call the forecast FOR1. So that's the forecast. Well, let me call it 425. So that's going to be a forecast for someone with 25 years of experience. That's going to equal the constant, which is 15.55527, plus, that's beta naught hat, beta 1 hat, 0.24, you can see it over there on the left, 1472, times experience, but experience I want is 25. So I want to know what's going to be the forecasted, 425 is the forecasted earnings, and this is for someone who has an experience of 25. So our estimated model can do that. We just say, okay. It gives us 425, just double click on that. And the estimated earnings is 21.59207. If I had said, instead of 1 down there at the bottom, if I had said 540, it would just give me the same value everywhere here. All that does, when I said generate, I changed this to 1. If I'd have left it at 540, let me just do another one. FOR1 space equals, let me do for someone 20 years old. Let's do for someone 30. So 430 equals, again, 15.55527 plus 0.241472 times experience, but I want experience to be 30. This time I left it as 540 instead of 1. Watch what happens. Now I'll just get the same value 540 times. It creates the whole series. So you can tell it what sample to create. Since I only care about the one number, it's just as easy to, like I did here, to just make it just 1, and then you don't get it all cluttered up. But it doesn't make one whit of difference for the answer. Okay, well, that's, believe it or not, everything you need to know in order to do the empirical assignment for homework 4. So again, the steps are: download the data, then open the program, EViews, create a work file. You do that by saying File, New, Work File. File, New, and you go over here to Work File. That's what this is my work file over here that I'm working with. See, it's an untitled work file. I could have titled it. I'm not going to save it, so I'm not going to give it a title. Why bother? Once you've got the work file created, the next step is to import data. So you say File, Import from a file. You grab the file off your computer that you downloaded. Then you just tell it how many header lines by hitting the Next button after you bring the file in. Tell it how many header lines. Tell it the second line is the name of the variables, just like we did earlier. If you've forgotten, just watch the video again, and you're all set to go. Then to run a regression, you say quick estimate equation, and then you just put the model in. Now, I'm going to get rid of this estimate, so let me just delete it. It asks, do I want to delete the equation? I could save it under a name. In case I want to look at this later, I could save it. In fact, let me do that. I could just name it equation, let me just call it EQ initial. I'll call it EQ1. That's bad because it's a name. Equation, I'm going to call it no log. You'll see why in a second. No log. Okay. Oops. It didn't like that name. Name, I'm just call it no log. Now if I want to bring that up later, I'll have access to it. Now, it's right here. I've saved it. So if I need it again, oops, I hit the wrong button there. Those are the residuals from our model. If I just double click on no log, I can get those estimates back anytime I want. Now just for fun, let me show you something else you can do, because you're going to need this for later assignments. I can generate new variables from old variables. And later on in the course, we're going to argue that it's often useful to use the log of a variable rather than a variable itself. So if I want to, I can say generate, and I'm going to say log ln earnings. Did I spell that right? Log earnings is equal to, and there's a function there called log earnings. And I could use any equation I wanted here. And there's also, you can look in the help file, there's all sorts of mathematical expressions you can use, square roots, you can raise things to powers, you can add and subtract, anything you want. So you can create new variables from your existing variables. You could square a variable, for instance. So log earnings is this. So I just say OK, and I want to do the whole sample. Say OK. So I get a new variable, log earnings. This is earnings. You can see all the variables there, 53.41, 8, 24, and so on. This is now, that's the log. Those are the logs of those variables. Now I'm going to run this regression. I can run another regression. So quick estimate equation. Now I want log earnings on a constant and experience. So instead of running earnings, I'm running the log. Let me correct my standard errors for heteroscedasticity. And then you say OK. And now we get a new estimate. Now suddenly, now remember with our old one, let me pull that up here. Let me move this one up here so I can see it. Where is it? Here's our old, was no log. Under this one, we had a really crappy r squared, 0.005. Hardly even a percent. It's about 0.5% of the variations, all we're explaining. Nothing, we didn't have a significant experience variable. It just didn't look very good. Now with this other specification, suddenly our r squared's a little bit higher. Our t statistics are higher. It looks like this model fits better. And so it looks like it's a better equation. I'm going to go ahead and delete these. I don't need them anymore. And I could create other variables, like suppose I wanted experience squared. I could say EXPER SQ, it can have whatever name you like, equals EXPER star EXPER. Oops, something happened there. I could also use hat too. Hat means to the power of, and that would work too in this. And so this will give me experience squared. So if we look at experience here, it's 22 and 9. Experience squared is going to be 500, about 81. It's because it was about 9 squared and so on. So those are just the squareds. So you can use this generate function to generate new variables. Okay, let me just run quickly through how to do this all over again. And so again, you've created your example data. You've created mine's called example data. You've created your data in Excel somewhere. So you've taken your data from, say, here, opened it up into Excel, saved it, and now the data is sitting there. To estimate it, you open EViews. I'm just doing exactly what I did before. Get past that page. Create a new EViews work file. File, new, work file. These data are unstructured. You will have 100. I have 540. Say OK. Then bring in the data file, import from a file. Tell it the file, find it on your computer. Mine's in a 320 directory here. and it's called example data. Yours will be called something like empirical quiz 4. Open it, hit next, tell it there's 2 header lines and the names are on the last line. Then hit finish. You have your data, read in, earnings, experience, and the constant. Hit quick, estimate, tell it you want to run earnings on a constant and experience. Get the right standard errors. There they are. Say OK. There's your model. Then use the generate function over here. Do it so you can see your coefficients. Then use the generate function to do a forecast. So generate, and again it's best if you just do it for 1, 1, 1 space 1. I'll forecast for an age of 27 this time. So FOR27 is the constant 15.55527 plus the slope 0.241472 times the experience variable I want to use, which in this case, what did I say, 27? Yeah, 427, it's pretty obvious. There it is, then just double click on there and your forecast is this person, if they had 27 years of experience, would earn $22 an hour. And that's your forecast. Okay, well, that's how you do it. One last note, I've asked the GTF for this course, Ryan, to specialize in helping you with the EViews problems. And so please feel free to drop by his office or send him emails if you have problems running EViews. I may, in fact, forward a lot of your emails to him and let him handle them so that he can become a specialist and be able to help everyone. But if in the end it's not working for you, I'll answer your questions as well. But hopefully, after this video, you're not going to need any more help. Thank you.